So we have found the one person who watched the Biden Sanders debate, and that is this poor debate coach.
The one person.
Yeah, uh, Biden had his best night to date. Nobody cared. There have been so many debates. They've been so long. It's too bad because probably this was. I bet it was a substantive debate compared to everything else that's come before it. Um, the guy who wrote this article is Todd Graham. Apparently, he is a debate coach. I don't know that that matters so much, but uh, according to him, I haven't seen it. You didn't see the debate. All we know is what we've read, and Joe Biden wants us to call out the army to build more hospital beds to respond to coronavirus.
There we
Um,
go. There we go. Martial law,
you know,
folks.
well, I don't know if it's martial law, but don't we have the Corps of Engineers respond to natural disasters? There are worse ideas. If we're going to have the military doing something in a time of crisis, whether it's putting sandbags on a riverbank or in this case building hospital beds, we were talking off the air before the show about how Carl Icahn is shorting commercial real estate. I wonder if part of the solution, now that everybody's working from home, might be to put some of these beds into commercial buildings that are unoccupied. But
That's actually
you
a
know,
great idea.
I,
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
I hope, yeah, I hope something like that happens because we only have about 45,000 beds. We need a lot more. We may need a lot more. We don't know yet.
Well,
To handle the crisis.
one thing I thought about along those lines, and
Mhm.
first of all, with the commercial thing, I live in the Phoenix metro area. Anybody who's familiar with this area knows that Mesa it constitutes a lot of the east side of the city, and there's a defunct mall in Mesa called Fiesta Mall. That would be a perfect place when you talk about some place to just kind of put people or make a makeshift hospital because it's huge. It's a
Mhm.
mall. And then along those lines, you know, everybody has been talking about the lack of sports and there's no sporting anymore. Well, we can use those arenas for that purpose as well. That's another idea.
Yeah, we might have to get creative here because I think the Fiesta Mall is a great example. You know, Mesa, we have so many businesses that have just closed down. The buildings are doing nothing. We do have a shortage of housing. You know, it's time for us to find new use for that real estate. Um, but anyway, back to the debate. His response on Bernie Sanders, he gave him a D. He gave Bernie a B. Said that Sanders had more questions than answers. You know, as a socialist, I kind of think that's always the case. When do socialists really have any answers? They like to criticize capitalism. They say that they want to come to some solution, but it's always the same old when we're talking, you know, the Bernie
Well,
Sanders types.
I had heard that Sanders was emphasizing the Medicare for all, that that's his answer to Corona. Like he doesn't quite understand the capacity issue, and I think that's why he's getting some criticism. The capacity issue is pretty straightforward, and it has to do with just simple numbers. When you talk about the number of people infected and then the percentage of people that can get seriously ill, what we're really talking about is oxygen and ventilators. So it's a capacity issue. It's not really an access issue. That's not really what we're talking about right now, and that's not going to be the problem going forward. And I did hear that criticism that Bernie Sanders basically said, "Hey, if we had Medicare for all, this Corona thing would be fine." You know, that's just paraphrasing. I didn't see the actual quote. I saw someone commenting about it. And it's like, well, that's not really what the problem is. The problem is not the access issue. The problem is capacity. I don't think a Medicare for all quote unquote solution is in fact a solution because that's not necessarily going to increase capacity. In fact, I think it might lessen capacity. You know, a situation like
Absolutely.
that. I
Yeah.
think that we probably have more ventilators than a lot of the. Well, I know in terms of raw numbers, we have many more ventilators than most of these other countries. Even Italy, even Western democracies, we have many more ventilators than they do. Now, percentage-wise, I don't know if we're really up to par because our population is also much larger. You know, but we do have more ventilators than say Italy. So I know that.
But if you have Medicare for all, you cap spending just by necessity. They pick a number, and that's how much we're going to spend on healthcare this year. And after that, it's just a matter of triage and rationing.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. No, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true.